The Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Mr Speaker, Whānau Ora was established from a report which did not contain one scrap of empirical fact or evidence. It was based solely on anecdotal evidence, rumour and bias. The second thing is that there's nothing so antiseptic as the statement, "We told you so," but New Zealand First did from the time we first saw this report. Mr Speaker, what this says when you look at the answer from the government and the Prime Minister particularly today is just how smug and arrogant this government has become. Not prepared to listen to even something so authoritative as the first investigation of this operation for 4 years by the Auditor-General, and this is what we find. Spending on Whānau Ora is completely politically motivated. 4 years after its inception, the program is still a byword for the squandering of public money. Now, the sad thing is there are some great Māori deliverers and providers out there who had their programs taken off them, who were sidelined or had to come under the umbrella of Whānau Ora. And what we've got to say today is got no concern with respect to them. They are doing a fine job. But what we've got to say today is who is culpable in this waste and why it is so damaging to the future of Māori and the taxpayer as well. At a time of fiscal restraint, widespread cost-cutting and hardship for many families, this so-called program is deeply offensive to many Māori New Zealanders. It's offensive to the many Māori who are struggling to pay their bills, find work and raise their children. It's offensive to all taxpayers who are seeing money that could be spent on worthwhile purposes being squandered to indulge the Māori Party and its cronies. It is offensive to the many families in New Zealand facing serious stress and who could make good use of extra financial support. 140 million is an incredible amount of money. Why? It could, for example, fund the very rare diseases syndrome in this country easily over a period of probably 7 or 8 years, many of whom include Māori.
Cancer research.
The latest report by the Auditor-General confirms there is absolutely no evidence that good value for money has come out of the 140 million so far spent on Whānau Ora. To say that the objectives of Whānau Ora are vague, amorphous, woolly and unmeasurable is an understatement. If there are no clear goals, aims and objectives, any spending can be justified. In the history of public expenditure in New Zealand, it would be hard to find any other program that had so little in the way of justification or evidence to warrant its continued existence. I know of many brilliant Māori programs around this country, and they did not need some dreamtime, esoteric view of how the world works from the Māori Party. With the greatest respect, we have spent more time out there. We know what poverty smells, tastes and feels like in places like Kawakawa and Kaikoai on the East Coast, and none of this is designed to help them. What it is designed to help is the bureaucracy, and I'll prove how it does that. Whānau Ora could never withstand any real scrutiny. First investigation, down it goes. For that reason, it has been allowed to evade the usual standards of open and accountable public administration. As we have repeatedly said, Whānau Ora is a program that has never made even the smallest gesture to good financial practice and accountability. It's an embarrassment to Māoridom. In fact, Whānau Ora always has been nothing more than a grubby and cynical deal between the National and the Māori Party. All the usual rules for scrutiny and oversight have been abandoned. These people up there like Bishop and others who talk about accountability. It's a tight time. We haven't got much in the way of public money to spend. Consistencies, accountability, sunlight. When it came to this, they turned a blind eye. New Zealanders are rightly outraged with this waste and squandering of public money. For example, how many people who benefit from the 40 million administration costs alone that went to Whānau Ora were allied with or supported the Māori Party? Even to the contracts awarded and the 3 commissions, in inverted commas, appointed in commas, to deliver this kaupapa. How many people were allied to the Māori Party? And then the questions were asked today of the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, how come a third of all payments made to whānau and provider collectives went to just 2 of Te Pone Kokori's 10 regions? And guess which 2? The ones with ministers from the Māori Party. And I want to ask Marama Fox, how does this work? When, for example, the greatest population of Māori that come from the far north, that magnificent place, deprived of sound economic and social management. How much money went to them? How come the two Maori ministers got all the money in terms of percentages? Just 2 of the 10 got 1/3 of all payments. That, Marama Fox, is inexcusable. Yeah. Next time you're in Kaitai or Kaikoui or in the far north or the other regions or in the deep south, down there in Ngāi Tahu, explain how this happens in 2015.
What about our people on the East Coast?
Oh, what about her people on the East Coast?
They missed out.
They missed out completely. My colleague, Peter Peroni, who's very familiar with the East Coast, of course, he knows how they feel down there. The local member, as to this improper expenditure, what are we hearing? Not a mutter, not a murmur, not a syllable, not a sound. How can you possibly face your people when you go back there, where you're meant to be their loyal and faithful servant, knowing that down here you've turned a blind eye? A blind eye. Here's the next one. 1/4 of all individuals assessing Whānau Ora, funding through the We Fund, in the 2010, 11 and 12 years, just went to one of Te Pune Kokori's regions. They got 10 regions, and 1/4 went to one. Guess which one? Why, the Minister of Whānau Ora herself. And what did the Prime Minister do? This arrogant and smug man today says he did nothing. Nothing. Now, we know in New Zealand First the propriety that's required to be an accountable party. That's why we're the most frugal party in Parliament by miles.
That's right.
We know what it stands for, to be accountable. But what do we have here? How does, for example, the Prime Minister or anybody in the National Party or Marama Fox, or for that matter, the member for Whangarei, possibly describe this to the Maori people up there, that 20,000 went from Whānau Ora to the mongrel mob in Dunedin, and they spent it on Maori causes and purposes? No. Sick Maori or Maori who needed education? No. They spent it on what? Cannabis. How do I know that? Because I raised it in Parliament and the Minister denied it and got caught out 3 days later. That's how I know that. Because one other thing we do in New Zealand First is we do our homework. We do our homework. We're not fast on the lip and slow on the hip. We're not fast on the lip and slow on the hip. No, we do our homework. We raised that one in, and that was what you might say a dead one as well. Then we said, how come you gave 80,000 to the Whānau Ora Palmerston North Women's Refuge where they haven't got one client? No, the Maori woman down there wanting refuge went off to the European Women's Refuge. How do you possibly justify that? And then, of course, there was the doozy of them all, to use the name of one of the guys at the backbench of the National Party. $60,000 to the Otaki Maori Rugby Club for a one-day huli so they could have whānau connectedness. Now, I know at Muratou and up there at Otiria, and in fact all around the north and on the east coast, and indeed Whananaki, I could gain some serious connectedness with $60,000. And, you know, I have the temerity of some of the commentary to say to me, but Mr. Peters, they did some good, didn't they? Well, let me tell you this, with $140 million, I could do some serious good. Yes, I could. Yeah. But would it be fair? Yeah. Would it go to all of Maoridom? And in the end of the day, would it have this one aspect, which has always been the aspect of unique Maori service, personal sacrifice? That's right. Now, that's something that's not big over there in the Maori Party, is it? Or with the National Party, oh no, it's all about egregious self-advancement. But we in New Zealand First know, with all these programs, there has to be some sacrifice. There has to be some pain, some commitment and suffering. And that's why we were proud to say from the word go, this program should be stopped. And the Auditor-General has now said everything New Zealand First has said was correct.